All right, so we're going to pick up where we left off. This is RSM 308, Recreational Sport Programming. And we were talking about uh, sport as a whole and then looking at it. Now we're going to kind of look at recreational sport. Again, this is part of second day's video to help us kind of get that basic understanding of sport and in particular recreational sport. So let's look at this concept of recreational sport. Again, we talked last time about recreation, leisure, and sport, and kind of seeing the crossover among all of them and understanding that they're all parts of the piece of the puzzle that makes up our profession. And so some of the characteristics of recreational sport, it is active and it's participation based. You know, one of the things that if you're in recreational sport, you know, it encompasses a lot more skill levels, abilities, but the big thing is that it's trying to encourage everybody to participate. You know, professional sport, only a few people can participate, and most of us are resigned to being spectators. But recreational sport, we can all still compete, and we can all still participate. And there's different levels and different stages that allow us to do that. And it can be local or community levels. A lot of times that's where the focus is with recreational sport is the community or the local based sport. But you can see it, you know, as you advance, sometimes you'll see it cross over into bigger areas, but a lot of times the focus is playing in your community and the development of your community and whatever that is, whether it's campus recreation sport, your community or town or city that you live in or county that you live in may have recreational sport for you. It's freely chosen, you know. You have the ability to choose the activity. You have the ability to choose how you want to participate in it and the outcomes that you're seeking out. And most of the time with recreational sport, it's more about those intrinsic outcomes that you're seeking out, that intrinsic motivation. And that's where you get into, there is a mix of intrinsic and extrinsic reward. Most of it is intrinsic, you're just doing it for the sheer enjoyment, but you do cross over and you see medals being given or trophies being given, recognition for it, which becomes more of that extrinsic and becoming into those external motivators that are leading you to participate. There's a focus on a range of outcomes. Okay, it's, you know, a lot of times there's not just about winning. Well, we sometimes get fixated on winning. Remember the other outcomes that are important in recreational sport. You know, socialism or socialism, being able to socialize with your opponents, your other participants. You know, that building of camaraderie. You learn skills. Sometimes you learn other educational outlets as well from sports. So there's a wide range of outcomes that are involved, and it's not all about the outcome that happens on the field, winning or losing. It's those other outcomes that you're seeking out, and we'll talk about that in some of these community development initiatives. You know, it's more about playing, but also playing and then just learning, okay, and not about winning and losing. It contributes to the quality of life in a community. You know, our people are drawn to communities that have a lot of recreational outlets, and so having recreation and sport in your community or recreational sport in your community adds to the quality of life. And think about, you know, being active. You know, one of the key elements right there in the first one is being active and being participant. Oh, that has such good benefits to your quality of life. And then if many people are doing that, it adds to the whole quality of life of the community. And then, you know, it just makes the town, city more livable. Okay, so it becomes, and you get into also some of those ideas of better citizenship, better socializing, and so it really improves that quality of life within the community. So we can put those pieces together: leisure, recreation, and sport. Kind of leisure is that activity for the sheer enjoyment of it. Recreation kind of is more of that structured activity that and then that which connects leisure with sport. And you can see even in those pieces, there's some overlap there that happens with recreation and leisure and sport to help combine those three into a what our communities seek out, as well as what we do in our field. Okay. And some, I just try to put down some examples and some of the things that you might have done in your life. You might have participated in. This is one of the things I do, is get out there and run and do community runs. And my competition is mainly myself. It's not other people. That doesn't always work out well for me when I compete with other people. But when I compete with myself and trying to better my times, that's where I get those benefits and enjoyment from it, in a whole lot of training. But you have, youth development, softball here, and you have campus recreation and the basketball. You have just the pickup, going out and playing on a frozen pond and playing hockey. You have the structure of the cross-country meet and a tournament in volleyball with spectators and kind of more of the serious outcome of winning. And then you have this, which kind of gets us into some of the ideas of, all right, is it sport? Originally skateboarding wasn't a sport, but we got into where we can do competitions and compete against each other with a skateboard, and it's become into a sport. So all different types of sports, they take different shapes and structures, but the idea is, this is one of the products that we put out, and one of the services that we provide people is to organize sport and help put these activities together so that people can enjoy it. I saw this one time and I thought this was perfect. One of the things our challenge is with sport is sometimes the people that are become those couch potatoes who watch it, and I'm guilty of this as well. You're yelling at the TV screen about somebody that didn't do what you're wanting them to do, and you're yelling techniques to them, and they're the professionals, and you're sitting there watching from your couch. And that's kind of the difference between recreational sport and professional sport. Professional sport is we're the spectators, or most of us are, but in recreational sport we can participate. We can be the one that's yelling at ourselves for not transferring our weight when we're trying to hit. And so kind of leads us into that idea of passive versus active. In active, we want to be physically involved. We want to play the game. We want to run the race. We want to learn the skills. We want to be involved and doing. Passive is watching, listening, yelling at the TV screen, watching it on the computer, live stream, or listening to it in the olden days on the radio, right? Those are what we do. Active is kind of what our goal is in recreation sport, is get people active. We want them participating. The professionals are more about passive. We want them to spectate. Okay, we want to have them buy tickets, come and watch and be entertained. Okay? And that's fine, but we want to have which one do you see yourself being more focused towards? Okay, do you want to be the one that's out there helping people participate, and you see the value in that participation, or are you more about, okay, they're going to participate but passively, and they're going to sit and watch and or follow along with their events? So recreational sport, that's what we're focused on in here, is being active. We also want to look at that participation versus performance. In participation, we're designing our activities, events, managing that sport to encourage active participation. So we don't want them sitting on the sidelines. We want them involved. We want to get them active. Okay. So, what's the purpose? Are we trying to teach skills and get everybody involved and maybe building the love and interest of the sport with people? Or are we just trying to win and focusing on those elite athletes and staging our events for those elite athletes? Okay. Again, sometimes we get focused on this in our youth leagues. Youth leagues should be about this: participation, get people involved, get them interested, get them build a love for the sport. But what oftentimes happens is we can become about performance, and if they're not performing at a high enough level, we sit them. They're going to watch. If we have to play them for 2 innings, we'll get them in 2 innings. Try not to have them hurt our team. Okay, that's not really what it's about. It's about participation. Get them involved. Get them interested. Get them active. We got plenty of time to kick them out of sport later on in life, and you see the maturation, of how many people drop out of sport as they advance through their career. But ideally, we'd like to keep them involved even down the line. Just went out the other day to South Strand in the middle of the afternoon, and there was probably 30 to 40 senior men that were out there playing baseball on one of the fields. It's not something we usually think of as an old man sport, me included. It's not an old man sport, but they're out there doing it and participating, and that's what we want: participation. We want them to be active, not sitting at home watching on the couch yelling at the TV about not transferring their weight. We want them to get involved and be participating. Okay, and so that recreational sport is that focus, is that participation. Okay. All right, so I'm gonna stop there. We'll pick up and talk some more about this idea of participation and who's involved in sport and how it evolves in the next batch of slides that I'll show you. But we'll stop here with